Because you were young yourself, and tell me if I'm wrong, weren't you named to the roster as soon as you graduated, right? You were young.
Yeah, after I won 3 national championships in a row, I was named.
Jeez. So how did you deal with that? I mean, I know Caitlin's on she's got...
Every team in the WNBA seems to be circling Caitlin Clark like hawks. The hype is real, and it's spreading fast. While it's easy to assume that Indiana Fever would be doing everything in their power to hold on to her, the energy coming from other teams suggests otherwise. From mascots being sent out on recruiting missions to veteran players making public gestures, it's clear that Clark is viewed as a once-in-a-generation player, and no one wants to miss out on the opportunity to build around her. What's happening right now feels different than the usual free agency buzz or trade speculation. Teams are no longer waiting until contracts expire or agents call them back. They're actively getting creative, finding new ways to spark her interest. The New York Liberty, for example, went full entertainment mode, sending their mascot on what looked like a mission specifically designed to charm Caitlin.
Hey, I'm taking Paige. Next question.
It's bizarre, hilarious, and honestly, kind of brilliant. This isn't something the league has really seen before. Not like this. There's a strategic side to it too. These teams know that swarming Clark with players might be a bit too obvious. Last year, Sophie Cunningham made headlines when she approached Clark in a way that was far from subtle. Her enthusiasm was loud and clear, and everyone saw it. It was fun, but maybe not the smoothest recruitment pitch in hindsight. That's why the mascot angle is so intriguing. It's goofy, but it's also strategic. No one expects a mascot to do the talking, which makes it the perfect cover. It plays to the entertainment value without triggering any formal accusations of tampering. Teams want to walk that line, stay clever, without crossing the boundaries too blatantly. Some have even speculated that if Indiana were ever to consider trading Caitlin, they'd have to do something so wildly out of the box that it distracts the public from the actual move.
3 threes in 38 seconds in the first half. Caitlin Clark hit 3 logo bombs, by the way. 3 logo bombs in 38 seconds. This was the Caitlin Clark we all said, oh, she's different. she's sent from outer space. The Caitlin Clark that we saw today was the Caitlin Clark that we were accustomed to seeing. Oh, it feels good, folks.
Something like acquiring the most beloved mascot in the league as part of the deal. It's a joke, of course, but behind every joke, there's a grain of truth. If the Fever were to part ways with someone as impactful as Clark, the blowback would be massive. So massive that maybe throwing a fan favorite mascot into the deal wouldn't seem so crazy after all. The truth is, these teams are making moves because they see what Caitlin represents on and off the court. She's not just another player, she's a media magnet, a walking headline, and a revenue driver. Any team that lands her doesn't just improve their odds of winning, they double their relevance overnight. In New York, the roster's already stacked with elite talent. Sabrina Ionescu, Breanna Stewart, Jonquel Jones, they're already established stars. But imagine combining that core with Clark's offensive firepower. While it might create some defensive vulnerabilities, the scoring upside is undeniable, and if they manage to keep their top defenders locked in, they become virtually unstoppable.
The media, I felt like, mishandled so many things with the WNBA last season, and specifically with Caitlin Clark and her fan base. And that's one thing when you start thinking about how many people stopped watching when Caitlin Clark got injured. A lot of people stopped watching because they are boycotting the WNBA. They don't want to give viewership to any other teams or any other players, whether they like other players on the team or not, because of how the media and the league itself has handled Caitlin Clark.
People talk about backcourts in the WNBA, but the idea of pairing Sabrina and Caitlin together isn't just about offense. It's about building a super team that dominates ratings, fan engagement, and championship potential. That's the vision these franchises are chasing, and they're not being quiet about it. It's not just about the Liberty, though. Around the league, franchises are eyeing what might happen with rookie contracts in the near future. There's chatter that the next CBA could shake up the current structure, potentially opening the door for top rookies to become available sooner than expected. If that happens, the mad dash to secure someone like Caitlin will only intensify. What's wild is that no one really knows how it'll play out. The next agreement could reset the rookie pay scale or give more flexibility for young stars to move early. That uncertainty is pushing teams to act now to build relationships, to position themselves as desirable destinations, and to hope they're first in line if things shift.
Number one of the greatest single half performances I've ever seen in basketball. I've fully watched all of Magic, all of Bird, all of Chuck, all of Jordan, Ewing, Olajuwon, all of them. It was one of the best halves. It was in the top 5 best offensive halves of basketball I've ever seen.
In a situation like this, Indiana has to tread carefully. They already face criticism for how they handled the offseason, and Clark likely notices that. Earlier in the year, she made it sound like she was fully committed to the Fever long term, but more recently, her language has softened. She talks about a few years in Indiana instead of her whole career. That's a subtle but telling shift. And so, the mascot sightings, the social media hints, the public admiration, it's all part of a bigger game, a game where every team wants a piece of the most influential player in women's basketball. They know what she brings. They've seen the ticket sales, the streaming spikes, the jersey demand, and they want in. Even Phoenix, despite the past, might still be trying to plant seeds. Teams don't forget moments like Sophie Cunningham's wild approach, even if it ended up not working. They learn from it, they adjust, and now they go after her in quieter, more calculated ways.
There's just like a certain star quality and like star power there, but it takes you being confident enough, willing enough to be like, oh no, I know what you want, come here, I'm gonna give it to you. I loved it so much.
The Liberty have been particularly persistent. Their players have been supportive of Clark publicly, their media channels drop subtle nods, and their leadership understands what it means to build for the future. Sabrina Ionescu and Clark already have a relationship, one that fans love to talk about. Add that dynamic to the Liberty's existing powerhouse roster, and you've got a team that could run the league for years. Then there's the financial element. It's not just about basketball. Everyone in the league knows that adding Caitlin Clark is a financial multiplier. Teams with her on the roster don't just win more, they earn more. Sponsorships, merchandise, national attention, it all skyrockets. That's the real incentive, and everyone sees it. In many ways, this isn't even about trades or contracts anymore. It's about influence, about cultural capital. Caitlin Clark has become the center of a movement in women's basketball, and everyone wants to be close to that center. The timing of it all only adds fuel to the fire.
Second-year players clearing out that side of the floor, shooting on Stewie, and then watch the reaction with one another. Stewie's laughing. Caitlin knows it's ridiculous. Just out there having a good time with
All-Star Weekend brings everyone together, players, media, executives, and it's the perfect setting for behind-the-scenes conversations and subtle moves. The mascot stunt might be the most visible, but there's likely far more happening out of public view. Even late-night recordings like this feel like part of that rhythm. Stories are popping off left and right. Rumors are swirling. The idea of player empowerment, contract reform, and league expansion are all colliding. The excitement is real. The next few years could redefine how player movement works in the WNBA. If rookie deals do get restructured, or if top stars find ways to move earlier, we're going to see a shift in how teams build and retain talent. And in that chaos, whoever plays the recruitment game best might walk away with the league's most valuable asset. It's easy to joke about trades involving mascots or drunken recruiting pitches, but beneath the surface, teams are thinking seriously about what's next. They're watching the clock, studying every clause in the contract book, and looking for any edge they can get. Meanwhile, Clark continues to play, continues to lead, and continues to carry the spotlight. But behind her every move, there's a league trying to figure out how to get closer. Because in today's WNBA, having Caitlin Clark isn't just a luxury, it's a game changer. And so, whether it's Liberty mascots roaming around, tweets with subtle messages, or players making offhand comments during interviews, it's all part of the same mission. Teams want Caitlin, and they're not waiting around. The question now isn't if someone will make a move, it's who will do it first, who will do it loudest, and who will do it best. Because whoever pulls it off won't just be adding a player, they'll be rewriting the future of the league. There's a storm brewing under the surface, and the teams know it. Caitlin Clark represents more than just a top-tier scorer, she symbolizes the next generation of WNBA visibility. That's why every move made around her isn't random. It's all part of a larger pattern of influence, attention, and investment. The Liberty aren't just building a roster, they're building a brand. With players like Jonquel Jones and Breanna Stewart already anchoring the lineup, bringing in someone like Clark is about cementing dominance for the next decade. On the court, they would form one of the most dangerous combinations in the league. Off the court, the media frenzy would be unstoppable. This isn't hypothetical. We've already seen the blueprint. Clark's presence draws record-breaking attention. The Fever instantly became one of the most talked about teams, not because of their past performance, but because of who they drafted. Every arena they enter sells more tickets. Every network that broadcasts their games sees spikes in viewership. And the Liberty want that. So do other teams. But New York, with its resources, its media capital, and its existing superstar foundation, might be better positioned than anyone to capitalize. Other franchises have taken notice. It's why there's constant noise around her future, even in the middle of the season. It doesn't matter if her contract is technically locked in. Teams are playing the long game. They're trying to build rapport, familiarity, and even friendships. It's not about tampering, it's about positioning. They're laying the groundwork for what happens when the rules change, because with each passing week, the noise around the next collective bargaining agreement gets louder. Rumors swirl that rookie contracts might no longer last the full 4 years, especially if there's a push to restructure how rookies are compensated. If those changes happen, everything shifts. Suddenly, players like Caitlin could become available earlier than expected. That's why smart teams are acting like free agency has already started. They know they might only have one shot to get this right. This puts pressure on Indiana. The Fever can't afford to slip. Every decision they make now will be dissected not just by fans, but by Caitlin herself. It's not just about putting wins on the board, it's about showing her that she belongs there long term. But so far, the front office hasn't done enough to reassure anyone. Their offseason was lackluster, their rotations often questionable, and while Clark remains professional, it's hard to ignore that her tone has shifted. The excitement in her early interviews has given way to more tempered statements. Now she talks about playing a few more years instead of a full career. That kind of language matters in this league. It signals awareness, maybe even hesitation. It opens the door for other teams to keep pushing, and push they will, whether it's Phoenix trying to keep a foot in the door or New York deploying mascots to charm her. This level of recruitment is only going to escalate, especially as All-Star Weekend unfolds and players from every corner of the league gather in one place. These moments create opportunities, backstage conversations, hotel lobby chats, practice sessions. These are the environments where deals begin, where whispers lead to blueprints. Clark may not be participating this time due to her groin issue, but that doesn't stop the machine. If anything, it gives other teams a longer runway to plot their moves. And based on how fast stories are popping off, you can bet the league will be watching every frame of footage, every offhand interaction. This is what happens when a single player carries this much gravity. Every action becomes amplified, every rumor becomes plausible, and every team believes they have a shot if they just play it smart enough. Meanwhile, conversations behind closed doors are getting bolder. Executives are thinking ahead. They're weighing salary caps, considering future drafts, and trying to determine how to make space not just financially, but culturally for a player like Caitlin Clark. Because to have her means more than wins. It means energy. It means momentum. It means suddenly every game is must-watch. That's a level of impact very few players, if any, can deliver right now. And with that level of influence comes responsibility. For Indiana, that means doing everything they can to retain her. For everyone else, it means finding creative ways to stay on her radar. Whether that's through friendly gestures, public praise, or absurd but attention-grabbing stunts, the race is on. The future of the WNBA isn't just about which team can draft well or coach better. It's about who can build the kind of ecosystem that makes stars want to stay. It's about who can offer more than a contract, who can offer a vision. And that's where Caitlin finds herself, at the center of a movement she didn't start but now controls. Wherever she goes, the league will follow. Whoever she commits to gains the spotlight. Whoever fumbles their chance might never recover. It's no wonder teams are already acting like they're recruiting a free agent, because the truth is, they might be, maybe not on paper yet, but in practice, the battle has already begun. This story isn't going away. It's only going to grow as we move toward the end of the season and into the next round of negotiations. The CBA might shift everything, or maybe nothing changes at all. But until there's clarity, teams are treating this moment like an open window, and they're diving through it. Clark's next move will shape more than just her own career. It could reset the balance of power across the WNBA, and that's a ripple effect that everyone from coaches to media execs feels coming. The funny part? Through all the speculation, all the gestures, all the drama, Clark keeps doing what she always does, showing up, playing hard, and letting the rest unfold around her. That calm focus might be her greatest weapon. While everyone else scrambles, she remains centered, but even she knows the decisions ahead won't be easy. Loyalty has a price, and so does opportunity. The fever pitch around her isn't isn't dying down, it's accelerating. And as the mascot dances and headlines swirl, one thing is clear, the league hasn't seen anything like this before, and it may never again. What makes this entire situation feel surreal is how fast everything has unfolded. Just a year ago, the conversation was about whether Caitlin Clark could transition her college dominance to the pros. Now, she's the gravitational center of the entire league. Every team's plans seem to orbit her in some way, whether they admit it or not. You can feel it in the way teams talk during press conferences. There's a cautious optimism, a calculated politeness when her name comes up. No one wants to overstep, but no one wants to be silent either. Staying quiet could be seen as disinterest, and disinterest, when it comes to a generational talent, is a dangerous narrative to let settle. It's not just the players and execs either. Fans feel it too. The buzz around Clark doesn't just come from media headlines. It's alive in the stands, on social media, in every game thread. Jerseys sell out in minutes. Her highlights trend across platforms even when her team loses. There's an entire ecosystem springing up around her presence. And that's why this isn't just a basketball story. It's a business story, a cultural story, a narrative about how one athlete can shift an entire league's momentum with the right mix of talent, personality, and timing. New York, for their part, seems to be playing this long game better than most. They've kept their efforts subtle but persistent. Sabrina Ionescu has publicly supported Clark. The front office plays the PR game well, and their media arm knows exactly when to drop a not-so-subtle nod. These are the kinds of moves that don't raise red flags, but still send messages. They understand the stakes. In a league where visibility is everything, Clark represents the ultimate investment. Secure her loyalty, and you're not just building a team, you're building a dynasty. One that sells tickets, dominates headlines, and creates history. Of course, none of this guarantees anything. Basketball is still basketball. Injuries happen, chemistry matters. No amount of marketing replaces actual performance. But Clark has proven that she brings both. She scores, she leads, and she does it with a spotlight that only grows brighter. This is where the league finds itself now on the verge of a new era. The old rules of recruitment, loyalty, and movement are all under pressure. With the right policy shifts in the next CBA, the next few seasons could look drastically different from anything we've seen. And for Indiana, the clock is ticking louder than ever. They don't just need to build around Clark, they need to do it fast, smart, and convincingly. Otherwise, that subtle change in her tone, that careful phrasing about a few more years, could turn into a press release and then into a jersey reveal in another city. Meanwhile, other teams are preparing. They're watching. They're learning from every interaction, every all-star appearance, every handshake, every post-game comment, because they know that in today's league, influence often starts with moments like those. Some are even rethinking their roster decisions entirely, planning out what pieces they'd be willing to move, who they'd bring in to complement her game, how they'd structure their cap space to be ready just in case the opportunity ever presents itself. It's no longer considered a fantasy. It's a real possibility, however small, and that's enough to plan for. Clark's presence has given the WNBA something it's long deserved: mainstream momentum, and with that comes pressure to evolve. Whether the league adapts fast enough remains to be seen. But one thing's clear, the traditional blueprint isn't enough anymore. Teams can't just draft well and hope for the best. They have to build ecosystems, ones that support, elevate, and retain players like Clark. That means hiring the right coaches, investing in resources, improving facilities, expanding media presence, and staying ahead of cultural trends. Because if they don't, someone else will. This kind of competitive energy is new, and it's a good thing for the league. It shows growth. It shows that teams are no longer just thinking season to season, they're thinking legacy. And that's a shift that could change the sport forever. As for Clark, her journey continues. She's made it clear she's focused on playing the game, blocking out noise, and staying grounded. But even the most focused athletes can't ignore their environment forever. The decisions being made around her and about her are only getting louder. The All-Star Weekend may just be a snapshot in time, but what happens here could have ripple effects that stretch deep into the next era of the WNBA. Whether it's mascots showing up or team owners dropping not-so-subtle hints, every gesture is a seed being planted. It may take months or even years for those seeds to grow, but they've already been planted. And when the next storm of negotiations, movement, and restructuring begins, we'll look back at moments like these as the true beginning. For now, it's all eyes on Caitlin. Every game she plays, every interview she gives, every move she makes is being watched, analyzed, and responded to. Because the league knows one thing better than ever: when Caitlin Clark moves, the entire WNBA moves with her.